Hello everyone, my name is Leo and with this video we will share a detailed review of the Tsakalis Audioworks Mothership. The Mothership is a tube preamp and cab simulator in a pedal format. First of all, we will hear the unit in action with the demo song, then we will describe the unit in details, exploring all its features and functions. After that, we will listen to more sounds and finally, as usually, I will give you my 2 cents. So hope you enjoy and please subscribe and ring the bell as it would really help me to create more content like this. Let's start with the demo song. Let's now describe the Mothership in detail. The Mothership is an amp in a box pedal that combines a real tube preamp section with a cabinet simulation system in a pretty rugged and compact enclosure. At its heart, the Mothership features two 12AX7 preamp tubes running at 240 volts internally, in order to try to mimic a real tube amp playing experience, trying to give us that responsiveness and feel typical of a quality tube preamp with plenty of headroom. The Mothership has 2 channels, both are identical and pretty configurable. In fact, each channel features a 3-band EQ, a presence knob, 2 toggle switches to select the 3 cab simulations for each channel, and other 2 toggle switches to select the structure of the gain. What I found pretty interesting is that each channel features also 2 separated gain and volume knobs, selectable via a dedicated foot switch called A and B. This feature allows us basically to have a 4-channel preamp, as for each channel we can select the gain A or B together with the volume A or B, allowing, for instance, access to, as I was saying, 4 different voices. I think this is a pretty clever solution, I have to say. And in fact here I have set up 4 different sounds, with the first channel providing with a very clean sound and then a more crunchy one, just playing with the gain and the volume, and then the second channel providing 2 overdriven sounds, once again with 2 different distorted level sounds according to the volume and gain knob. Here it is worth noticing that the gain structure switch makes a huge difference. I mean, it really allows us to go from clean tones when it is set all the way to the left to very distorted ones when it is set all the way to the right. I mean, the gain structure knob is really the one to check out according to the tone we want to get. Let's now talk about the cabinet simulation system. First of all, we have 2 output jacks, one with the cabinet engaged and the other one with the cabinet switched off. This is very important. This is a very important distinction. Basically, when you use the cab out, you go through some ADA conversion and you use the IR inside the mothership. On the other hand, when we select the amp out, we bypass the IR simulation, basically having a totally analog signal chain. And in fact, of course, also the latency is impacted. With the amp out, we have 0 latency, as the signal chain is all in the analog domain, where when we use the cab out, we introduce a tiny bit of latency at around 1.2 milliseconds. These are values that I have measured myself, and the 1.2 milliseconds is confirmed also by Tsakalis data in the user manual. So basically we can bypass the power amp and cabinet simulation having a 0 latency solution, or we can engage the cab and power amp still having a pretty low latency at around 1.2 milliseconds. This solution is pretty similar to the one of the Friedman preamp like the IRX, with the exception that with the mothership we can totally bypass the power amp and cab sim, having a 0 latency solution, where with the Friedman we can bypass it but still having the latency introduced by the ADA conversion trip, which is a bummer. At least this was the behavior I have experimented myself when I tested the Friedman, and I don't know if they have done some firmware upgrades after my review. By the way, these 2 outputs can also be used together at the same time, for instance sending the cab sim out to a mixer and the preamp out to a real power amp and cabinet. Let's now discuss a bit more about the IRs. We can choose from around 70 custom cabinet simulations using the Tsakalis Audioworks editor app. These simulations can be loaded into the pedal via USB. Then in the pedal we have a dedicated switch to select among 3 cabinets. And please notice that we have 3 cabinets for the channel 1 and 3 different cabinets for the channel B. I have to say that the ones available by default in the units are already great IRs. I love them. And the possibility to have 3 different pairs of IRs according to each channel is pretty clever, because we can use 3 IRs for the clean sounds we have in mind and 3 different IRs for the distorted ones. And that's great. The pedal also features an onboard analog tube-like power amp simulation that emulates the feel and character of EL34 power tubes in push-pull topology. In terms of connectivity, the mothership offers separated dedicated outputs for both the cabinet simulator and a dry output for our amp, which has 0 latency, as I said previously. It also includes a serial mono effect loop, which I guess is all in the analog domain, as it does not impact latency according to my measurements. The unit also features a MIDI in. In fact, the pedal is MIDI compatible with 128 user customizable presets, accessible via MIDI program change messages. The 3-foot switches can be used in either latching or momentary mode. Latching mode works with a normal press, while momentary mode is engaged by holding the switch down longer. In terms of power needs, it requires a 12-volt DC power adapter at 700 mA, which is included in the box, and then internally the unit switched to 240 volt to feed the tubes. The dimensions are shown in the screen and the weight is 1.2 kilos. And finally the price is around 550 bucks. To be noticed that the pedal is handmade in Athens, Greece. Let's now hear some more sounds. Final considerations here, and please notice that this unit has been sent to me for free by Tsakalis Audio, but this video is not paid nor sponsored. Then they have also sent me their Multicab 4 and their Room 40 for another video, and that video is gonna be sponsored. With this out of the way, well guys, I would be very brief. I simply love this pedal. The tones I can get from this unit are awesome. The cab sim is lovely, and if I want, I can go latency free just using the preamp section of this unit, for instance pairing it with one of my amps. My playing experience with this unit has been great, and the tones I can get are in line with my style of playing. All the switches, knobs are well thought out. The 3-gain structure switch allows me to shape the voicing and the level of gain according to my needs. With few tweaks of the EQ or presence knob, we can shape the tones as we want. The AB volume and gain knobs are a very clever idea, and we also have MIDI to integrate this device in a complete ampless pedalboard. So once again, I love this unit. In terms of things that can be improved, I would mention: first, I would love to have the gain structure switchable. I mean, for instance, with the possibility to associate 1-foot switch to it. For instance, it would be nice to be able to decide if to assign the on-off switch to the gain structure switch. Second, I would have preferred to have the gain structure switches and the cab switches positioned differently, for instance in the middle of the chassis, as when I change their position actually I tend to change also the knobs over the switches. Third, as far as I understood, via MIDI we can control the gain, the volume and the states of the full switches. This is maybe an area where we can have some improvements. Other than that, I don't have any other suggestion. This is simply a great sounding unit and well thought out in terms of controls and design. And that's all I have to say. Thank you so much for watching and see you soon. Bye bye.